unemployment has been one of the most critical issues globally. Kenya, despite being the country with the most stable economy in East Africa, youth unemployment has been increasing at a very high rate. Of late, statistics from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics shows that 22.4% of Kenyan youths aged between 22 and 14 years are unemployed. Graduates have been flocked into the job market annually to seek employment, but the question is, where will they land their head despite having the relevant qualifications? In this documentary, we are going to show you how creative and innovative these students have become to curb the issue of unemployment.
It's a busy day along Siriba Road, a road connecting the two campuses of Maseno University. Students are rushing to classes, walking over 2 kilometers to reach their lecture halls. But to some, this distance is unbearable, and so they board motorbike from this busy boda stage. We have been trying to reach and find the idea behind the busy road after realizing that most business here are managed by students. They say they run business due to fear of being unemployed after schooling. Why is there unemployment in this century? Dr. Nelson Obange is an economist.
My name is Dr. Nelson Obange. I'm an economist by profession. Unemployment is an important issue in our life, and not necessarily in the Kenyan context, but it's an issue which is global because production is determined by the labor force. So when we are talking about employment, we are looking at employment of factors of production. And labor is one of the factors of production. And in this case, I believe we are talking about youth unemployment. The cause of unemployment may vary widely, but basically what is important is the labor market. What does the industry require? Many a times, our unemployment is that we are not matching the labor force with the requirement of the industry, and that could be a big cause. That is looking at it from economic dimension. There is also the issue of this unemployment. One of the genesis could be the attitude. People have failing and priorities for particular types of employment.
The CEO of Majasan Studio has a different motive for starting his business.
I've never applied for a job because my ambition is not to go and work somewhere or get employed. My ambition to create a company and make it as big as possible. Yes, as per now, I'm able to cater for everything, my rent, food, everything, but I'm not planning to remain here. I have to expand.
I think what is common amongst us is the preference for the white collar jobs, and this is critical. Yeah. So you may find a scenario where we have unemployment because people do not actually feel they need to work where the opportunities are. Yeah. There is also the issue of technology. We should not forget that technology is catching up with us, and this technology may not be relevant. There are scenarios where you need appropriate technology to absorb the labor force that you require. So technology could be a cause of it. Cultural and attitude issues could also be. And we also have the curriculum that the curriculum may not be offering the package that fits the market. In Kenya, for example, we are talking about a change from the 844 curriculum to a CBC, competence-based curriculum. And CBC is now emphasizing on skill-based training as opposed to knowledge-based training. So the curriculum could also be an issue.
Business is good, especially if you are good in managing it, if you are disciplined, and if it's a good business. But at the end of the day, I may say I would want to venture into business. If I have capital, if I have what it needs, I would opt business to employment. A number of the people that I've known who started with business actually ended up doing business for the rest of their lives. But all in all, it depends, because you realize that a number of them who I've known, they start with employment, because as I told you, capital is a challenge when it comes to business. So they enroll themselves in employment. Then after some time, maybe they've raised a certain amount of capital, then they get back to business.
Actually, I don't think I would like to be employed. Personally, we have got, everybody has got his own dreams and ambitions that we are chasing. So for us, we have got a team that we're trying to come up with a company about doing delivery services. We want to do delivery services in other parts, because we understand that the rural areas, they are not that developed, and their services are not being provided there, unlike the urban centers.
The economic environment so far is perceived to be a little bit harsh. And to be very honest, we can say that if you cannot break even in any investment environment, then the best thing is to close and try elsewhere.
With this move that students have taken to overcome joblessness, they are no longer interested in seeking employment after schools. Their foundation can sustain them. Even though it is a positive step, I'm worried that they have little time for their classes. Ian Mutiva narrates what he does to balance his two interests, class and job.
Normally, even at the border stage, we also have got rules whereby when it reaches class time, we just have to attend the class. We don't have an option. And when we are free, we only do this when we are free, when we don't have something else to do apart from attending the classwork.
So balancing education and our business has been a big challenge. In fact, it has been the biggest challenge. But coping that, we've been working together with our friends. We've a few staff members over there. They happen to be our friends. So we've been working in shifts. When somebody don't have a class, you are there. So at least to make sure that we achieve that. Actually, it's Edwin is the person who came up with the idea. But then deep in me also, I knew that I had something that I could put in business and produce some excellent results. So I can say basically that same minds met actually at that time, though we didn't have exactly idea of what we wanted to do. But inside our minds, we had the idea of doing business.
Okay, I guess maybe my market planning, strategy, networking, and how I socialize with people. That's what makes me able to manage this kind of job.
They all have pieces of advice to their fellow youths, each urging youths to follow their footsteps and not to wait for disappointment from government, where there are no jobs.
Somebody maybe who is definitely everyone wants to, when you are done with the studies, you want to be employed at the end of the day. But you see, it takes time. It takes time. If you ask some of the people who went ahead of us, they'll tell you they did so many applications before they landed to their final job. So you see, it might take even years for you looking for a job, bearing in mind the challenge that we have in the country of unemployment. So my advice to them is that just start something, be doing something that can keep you going as you wait for the employment.
I would ask youth to venture into projects, because whenever you have got a project and a project grows, it means you are in a position to create job opportunities for other youths.
To some of these businessmen, the government has failed in achieving their manifesto. The promised job opportunities to the youth are nowhere to be seen. But the economist Dr. Obange has a different view on government's progress. Even though the Kenyan harsh economy is unfavorable, the step the government is taking predicts a good future for the youth?
I may say that government has done very little actually in terms of youth employment, because you realize that some of these people who they are saying that they are experienced, you realize they're the same people who remain within the job places. So at the end of the day, youths end up being unemployed with the reason that they don't have the experience. But you see now, experience comes with doing something. So if they are given the opportunity to practice something, maybe what they've learned in school, that's how they get experience. Yeah.
Mostly the government is giving jobs to older people due to experience. If youths are not ready to at least be responsible and wajitume, they won't get such jobs.
Okay, first of all, it's all about corruption. Corruption is why youth are not getting jobs. Then number two, it has come to a point whereby people have narrowed things into a family thing, whereby whenever I get out of this place, I should leave my family behind in the same position.
Companies are profit-making institutions, and the policies we have around here are not favorable for them. The Kenyan economy is in the realities of debt, and the taxes are high. Yeah. So we are not able to break even, and it's a high time we think of how to review policies where possible. Governance is political, governance is economic, governance is social. So if you look at, I started from the idea that the economy is not favoring the private sector. The tax regimes are very high. Tax rates are literally a little bit high. And you'll find that instead of attracting investors, we are crowding them out. Instead of crowding in, there's crowding out. And of course, the companies which are within are suffering the consequences of economic realities. And they are not able to sustain their cost. Then the question is, do we prefer public sector or we prefer the private sector? The government has been making effort to privatize. I remember Uchumi went under receivership some times back. I remember now there's a lot of talk about should the county government take over Mumias Sugar Company, or should the national government do it? So there's a political play over it. But as at now, I am not in a position to confidently talk on behalf of the government. Yeah. CBC will narrow down the skill gap between the industry and because we are emphasizing on skills rather than excess knowledge. So I believe the youths are likely to benefit. And then two, the government has got this 4 agenda. I want to look at it from the manufacturing pillar. The manufacturing is definitely going to spur growth of agriculture, going to spur growth of service industry. And when manufacturing spurs growth in agriculture and industry, employment will be created, and that is the future of the youth. So I think the government is on the right track.
Since the government has been found out to be a letdown to the society and the youth as general, the youth have decided that the government should really concentrate on offering jobs, and that the youth should also be part of making investments, like involving themselves in agriculture.